If you have the cabs alone or the Merlot, it's a good wine. But when you blend both,
Right.
it's a great wine.
It becomes more magical in the blend.
Yes.
Italian Wine Travel with Stevie Kim.
Hello, my name's Stevie Kim and this is Italian Wine Podcast. Welcome back to our Bordeaux series with Monsieur Burtschy. So here we go. We have covered the upper northern part, Saint-Estèphe, Pauillac, and Saint-Julien. We did the first growths, the 5 first growths, and this we're going to be covering Margaux, Haut-Médoc, and Pessac. So let's start with Margaux. We, of course, the first growth is Château Margaux. We have covered that on our previous series. Now, we have been to Château Palmer, Malky Delem, Jusqu'au, and you did a whole Margaux tasting.
Yes.
So give us an overview of the Margaux 2022 vintage.
Margaux is a big appellation with 1,200 hectares, 4 or 5 villages, very different, and 2 different wines. This first style is Château Margaux.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
So smooth.
Yes, Château Margaux with a lot of cabs is first growth. And the second style is Palmer with half cabs but half Merlot. And completely different, the same appellation. Margaux is a cabs-driven wine, but more smoothness because that is Margaux. In Palmer, you have in one hand the cabs and the other hand the Merlot. And you have a conversation between both. And 1 year it's more cabs, and 1 year it's more Merlot. Merlot is always smoother. Cabs, it's a bit harsher. If you have the cabs alone or the Merlot, it's a good wine. But when you blend both,
Right.
it's a great wine.
It becomes more magical in the blend.
Yes, yes. And in Palmer, you have 2 wines because you have the green wine that is on gravels. And the second wine is Alter Ego. It's more sandy soil, but it's lighter. And this year, the second wine is very interesting too, because 2022 is a warm vintage.
Okay.
And usually in the sandy soil, you have less water retention. But in Palmer, that works. The big collection of Palmer was the Queen of England. She was a Palmer lover. In Château Margaux, it's more classic because it's cabs driven. Of course, you have more smoothness and so on. It's a special because you have 3 styles in Pauillac, and the 4th style of cabs is Château Margaux. But Palmer, you have this blend between the power and the smoothness. And you have spicy aromas are coming with the blend.
But you spoke about the second label. So for our audience, would it be advisable if they're interested in these big name wines, but they can't afford it? Is it a good idea to invest in and taste the second label? Does that make sense?
Yes, that is a real great question, especially for the vintage 2022. Because 2022, it's a great vintage, and the second label, it's a great wine. Perhaps better than the first label in other vintage.
Oh, really?
Yes. When we came home from the tasting room, one of the greatest Austrian taster,
Yes. Peter?
bought directly 2 cases
Okay.
of the second label. I said, okay, it's that price. It's so interesting.
Okay, and then what about Haut-Médoc? We've been to, for example, Château Cantemerle.
To understand Haut-Médoc, you have Margaux, Saint-Julien, Pauillac, Saint-Estèphe. Big vintage, big villages. But the terroir doesn't stop on the frontier of the village. And just before, especially coming from Bordeaux to Margaux, you have a very special place. The name is Haut-Médoc, exactly the same terroir as in Margaux and so on, but it's not Margaux. And this part makes always less power, lighter wines. It's not a default because the terroir is lighter, perhaps easier to drink. Usually, all the Medoc wine are a lot of density, and this one, they are less density. They are more harmonious. A very interesting place to begin because you have Medoc, but with lower weight, because usually the Medoc wine have a lot of density, a lot of tannins and so on. That is lighter. Okay. And Cantemerle, it's a very nice place, and they make elegant, but with less power wines. That is the Haut-Médoc, the classified growth from Haut-Médoc. They are in the same level as the other classified growth, but completely different style, lighter, and it's always a good way to begin because they're cheaper.
So would this be a good place for example, Americans who prefer lighter wine? But that is kind of the new trend right now, not just for Americans. In general, people prefer to have lighter wines.
Yeah.
And especially if it's good value.
Yes.
So it could
that
be
is the case of Cantemerle.
Yeah, so it can be interesting to try the Haut-Médoc wines. Very good. Now, of course, tell us why in Pessac there is Haut-Brion in the classified.
Yeah. The terroir of Pessac and the terroir of Haut-Médoc after Bordeaux is the same. The town is in the middle. It was bigger and bigger. And today there are a lot of great terroir, there are houses. Okay, but before there were wines. And today Haut-Brion is inside of the town of Pessac. Okay. Around you have a lot of small houses.
Because Pessac-Léognan is another appellation,
yes,
right?
Pessac-Léognan is another appellation. Okay, but not exactly the same style as Margaux, because we are more in the south. The terroirs are lighter, closer to the Haut-Médoc. We had like as Cantemerle. Okay, and it's a good, when you are beginner, it's a good way to begin with Pessac-Léognan. Because you have not the density, you have not the power of Medoc wine.
Okay.
But it's always more harmonious, and usually you have a blend of the grapes between Cabs, Cabernet Franc, Merlot, and so on. And it's a good way to begin.
Okay, very good. So we have good two areas, appellations to recommend for the beginners. That's Haut-Médoc and Pessac.
Yes.
So very good. That concludes the Bordeaux journey for Margaux, Haut-Médoc, and Pessac with some extra bonus buying strategies for especially wine lovers out there. Okay, and that's a wrap for today. Stay with us as we continue into Sauternes and Barsac.